All right, well, let's go ahead and stop there. Get started with this webinar today. Today's going to be a good one. We have a lot to share, but we'll go quick. We understand that this is a really big pleasure for you guys to take time out of your day, and we appreciate you doing that. As part of what we do here at LiveRez, as some of you know that are currently partners at LiveRez, some aren't, who are with us today, so I want to certainly thank you for all joining us here at LiveRez. I'm Tyler Hurst. We'll talk about what we're going to do here in a minute, but certainly as part of what LiveRez is not just a software company, but continually helping our property manager partners, professionals as they are, to become better. And part of that is something that we've put together, and we're very thankful for, is that our education program, or LiveRez University. Not only do we offer webinars to the entire market place as far as information about marketing and how to become a better manager and increase revenues, but also almost daily here at LiveRez we have ongoing webinars, as you will continue to see. And so we're thankful and grateful for each one of you joining with us today. Now, with the onset of all of that, we have so much to talk about today. One last housekeeping item is at the end today we will be doing a Q&A, and we'll be able to answer questions and maybe even have you share some of your ideas. And so we look forward to giving you something that we feel is riveting. This is a presentation that I've shared around the country at some different venues, and I've specifically catered and prepared this for our conversation today. Now, if we had the opportunity, I'd love to do this in a classroom setting where we could all talk and participate, but in this forum that's not possible, so I do apologize for that. Before we get going, for those of you who don't know me, I am Tyler Hurst. I work here in sales and marketing at LiveRez.com. I've been here for about 7.5 years, and love what I do, love being able to interact with property manager partners. If you so desire, you can find me and connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Tyler Hurst, or there's the URL. And then also, if you prefer, you can also follow me on Twitter. And my URL or my ID is just Tyler Hurst ID. You can follow me there, and I do talk about vacation rentals. I talk about a myriad of different issues, and so. But feel free, if you're interested, to contact me there, and you can always call and email me, which we'll talk about at the end today. Okay, now moving on, let's get to the meat of the issue, and that is additional revenue. And what I guess that I ask is, what really, and I think we think about this because the very first thought is, what is the goal of additional revenue? Well, the goal of additional revenue always is money, we think. It is, but it's not. My thought is, as a vacation rental property manager, you'd always want your first priority to be the guest experience, and then usually revenue follows, and driving the bottom line is certainly important. Now, before we go forward, I actually have a little bit of a poll that I wanted to do, and it's kind of fun, but I'm going to go ahead and launch this, and you should be able to see this on your screen, and it will ask you, when it comes to additional revenue, select one of the following. We do well, but we're open to new ideas. We have some mediums, but we do need more. We only profit from rents, and we're not sure about additional revenue. And then the last one is more money. I haven't really even considered that. And I say that jokingly, but wanted to see what your kind of the crowd that we're speaking with today, and we're going to go ahead and see that only 40% of you have voted. So if you haven't, hurry up and click a vote. How do you feel about additional revenue? Do you feel like you're doing well? You do some, you don't do hardly any at all, and that's okay. 71% have voted, 47%, 83%, here we go, 86. 7 seconds left, and we'll go ahead and close this poll down, see if you can get your votes, and 86% of you voted, 89%. And what we see here is exactly what I thought we might see, is that roughly 39% of you said we do very well, but we're open to new ideas. 35% have said we do have some mediums, but we need more. 19% have said, yeah, we only really profit from rents right now, and we probably want to change that because there is a lot of money out there. And then 6% of you said, more money, I haven't really even considered it. So we will focus today on some of those mediums and exposing ideas. And maybe throughout there is the opportunity for you to comment, and we can look at some of those comments and share those ideas. once again, speaking about that, we will be doing a kind of a Q&A later today. I've seen a lot, having the opportunity to speak with many of you. I've had the opportunity to learn a lot of good ideas that you've had and shared with me that I would hopefully be able to share with you today. Now, to move on, let's go ahead and talk about some of the general rules of additional revenue, something to think about when we really start looking at the way that we place revenue. And number one is that offer standard expectations. There's going to be some things that people expect the opportunity to buy. I'm going to use a lot of similitude in my speaking today, but here's an example. If I fly Delta, I want the option to buy the exit row. I probably couldn't afford the first class seat, but I sure like the option to buy the first class seat. I know it costs money. I know it's a value add, it's an extra, but it's something that some people want to pay for. When you're offering things, though, also consider high ROI, return on investment options. Provide value. Make sure that everything you offer is actually something that's valuable, something they would actually want, so you don't discredit yourself or your brand. And then the fourth one that I think is very interesting is don't charge for what should be included. That's annoying. And I think that there are some times that happens. Like I grew up never going to a hotel that necessarily ever charged for parking. Right? Out here in the West, that's not necessarily a thing that we have as much. It certainly is in some locations and valets, but now, if I go back to the East and I pay for parking, I do it, but I do it grudgingly because I'm not used to it. It's something like built into my Fiverr to not pay for parking. And so just think about that as an example. You need to make sure that whatever you do, you protect your image. And then also, sometimes free items actually add revenue. We'll talk about that today. And then how you use these rules to stay competitive, offering additional options and services to stay competitive. If your neighbor down the road is offering helicopter rides over the Waimea Canyon in Hawaii, then you may want to be able to do something similar, right? And so we'll talk about that also. So we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and keep this short today, and we'll just keep on moving along. Okay, now, there's multiple ways that you can charge or add revenue and have markup, and it's really broken. I've taken the time, and you probably could come up with more and let me know, and I'll take my numbers up. But there's really a few different ways that you can look at how to additionally charge. And number one is markup. You give them an item that you would expect to pay for, and you mark it up. There's lots of examples of marked up items. For instance, like a breakfast package, maybe you spend $8 or $10 on items that go, maybe more, on items that go in a breakfast package, and you charge more for it, right? That's where you get that profit. Commission. One of the things that's really neat is to work out a commission plan with local providers for referring new business to them. For instance, you recommend a restaurant. I know I've stayed in different locations in California and always needed to rent things, and I was sent in a certain direction by my property manager, and I was more than happy to rent those items, surfboards and whatnot, and they got a commission off that. Massage therapy is a really good one. So that's something to consider. You know, you can send them with a coupon code to be able to track that. Thirdly, and then fee. Assess fees, whether it's shown to the guest or incorporated in the rental rate like an all-inclusive price, and we'll talk about fees today also. All right, moving right along, let's talk about the first one, and talking about these 5 ways. I've come up with 5, and some of them are a little bit longer than the others, but the first one is standard offerings, and this is very simple, but very important, and some people don't realize. But for instance, certain offerings now are in our industry become standard and somewhat expected by some guests. So first of all, travel insurance. Travel insurance is something that some people don't take advantage of based upon who they are, their size, how far they're traveling, how much stuff they're bringing with them, etc. The weather of the location they're heading. Other people really love travel insurance and they take advantage of it, and you can sell it. Travel insurance, if you have questions about it, please let me know after. We can talk to you about some providers that are fantastic. We certainly love CSA, and we've been affiliated partners with CSA for quite a while, and we recognize them as one of the best providers in the industry of additional services, certainly the best travel insurance provider. The other thing is you also have additional fees, for instance, like processing fees, early and late checkout fees, cleaning fees, pets, linens. In fact, I was at a dinner last week with the property manager, and he had mentioned that he'd never really thought about offering early or late checkouts, and they charge $50 to $100 for these additional and late checkouts. Now, for some people, that's not so easy, right? But for others, maybe it's $15 or $20. And what he did is he incentivized his team to sell these and then they would split part of the revenue. So that was a fun thing, and he said that they've made tremendous pockets of revenue off of this. So think about that. Even, like I said, even with the smaller companies where the overall booking rental, if it's a cabin rental, it may be a little bit less than a 7-day in a private villa somewhere, but ultimately there is revenue there. Cleaning fees, pet fees. We had a property manager that made $28,000 in a year by just literally adding pet fees. People are going to bring their pets on vacation. Pets are awesome. We all love Fido and Garfield, or whatever your cat's name is, or my cat's name is, but what ends up happening is they do add an element of time and control to the house that needs a little bit of extra cleaning, etc. And so adding an additional pet fee is something that's comprehensible, and it can be a great revenue stream to you. And then also, some people charge for linen, some people don't. It's common in some places, very rare in others. Very, very rare generally around the industry, but it's something that I've seen people do. Another great thing that's not mentioned on here is also security deposit insurance. Instead of doing security deposit, another revenue source that I can't believe I left off here was security deposit insurance. And that's where you can charge a fee, and it will cover items with accidental damage, and you get to keep part of the revenue, and then obviously you have to buy the policy from your travel insurance provider. But travel, or some people call it travel protection also, or security deposit insurance, something to that extent. So if you have questions about those, especially if you're using LiveRez, those are great revenue generators. Travel insurance, travel trip protection, or SDI, security deposit insurance, is a very, very, very acceptable measure to really drive revenue, and they're free to offer. And so you should certainly consider those. The other thing you have to think about, whatever you're doing, is you want to make sure that you have high ROI items. And the idea is to create more revenue with less work, or without creating any work at all. And so what you can do is you can do this by lowering your marketing costs, outsource services, and then also have reusable goods. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But also easily being able to duplicate or leverage your expertise and connections, like we've talked about before. And so the idea is try and include things that have ROI. If you're only making $1 or $2, but it takes you 2 hours to do something, it's probably not a good idea. And so you want to make things that, if I can just use the word, aren't painful. Don't do painful things. Make it better on yourself, make it easy, and make it so that it's just a revenue generator. Now, the other thing is, when it comes to ROI, there's really 2 types of ways that you can add additional revenue to your business, and that is goods and services. Now, obviously, a service is things like private chefs, fishing lessons, fishing trips, guided fishing tours are huge. In places like, I know a property manager who does that in Texas, or right here in Idaho, I know of managers who do that, which can be offered by a member of your team or by a local partner. Goods can be things like groceries and firewood, and it can be purchased by your team or a local partner. I'll tell you a story here. Sorry, I'm grabbing a drink of water. It's very smoky here in Idaho from the forest fires, and so I apologize about that. So my throat's a little sore. But goods are interesting because I remember a specific vacation where a property manager, I've stayed with a property manager, and we noticed at nighttime that everybody's having fires on the beach, which we thought was tremendous. So we wanted to have fires on the beach. The problem was we couldn't get our hands on any beech wood or firewood. We didn't know where to get it. And we didn't really think to ask our manager, and they ended up selling it. But we wanted to just get in touch to, have a nice time. And so what we ended up doing is we ended up driving, 15 miles away, going to some store, buying firewood, buying all this stuff. What if someone just sold that? In places where beach fires are rampant and everybody has them, and they're a beautiful way to spend time together with your family and friends, why not just sell a beach fire package? See, there's a free idea. So that's just something to consider, that if you can make the things that make their vacation awesome accessible, then they will buy them. I would never have driven the 15 miles, even if it cost extra $20 to buy it from them. Okay, 2, value-added services. So, like what? So there's all kinds of things that people, when they come into town, they usually come in town for something. It's a ski trip. We're going to be at the cabin relaxing. We're at the lake. What are they doing there? And pay attention to that. And so one of the things that you can do is that there's a lot of value-added services that you can take and either profit off of a partnership, or you can mark up that service. For instance, lift tickets, tea times, surf lessons, fishing lessons, rafting. Guided rafting trips are big in Idaho, North Georgia on the OC River. Oh, I think I said that right. Ski lessons, private chefs, massages. I mean, I can think of a tremendous amount of things that if you have someone or can point someone in the direction, it can be of great value to you. So value-added services alone, don't be afraid to do that. Amusement park tickets are a huge revenue generator, and you're just providing a service, right, by just giving them the ticket instead of them having to go find it online. As opposed to our third tip, which is value-added goods. Now, what makes goods better and easier? Well, think about it. It's convenient, right? It's that they don't have to go in. They get in late. They have late flights. If you notice that most of your guests are arriving past 9 p.m., maybe a breakfast package is something you want to offer. Groceries, firewood, gift baskets, linens, those types of things, once again, are things that they can get from you and really drive the importance of their vacation, so they have more of the quality time they're searching for and less of the searching around for items tour, right? And I think those can be really valuable value adds that really can enhance a vacation, things that generally people forget. I think that the other thing is like, how many times has anyone, and you can raise your hands in your office, I'll see you and I'll know you're raising your hands, but how many times have you ever seen a bumper sticker? It's white, it's an oval, 6x4 oval bumper sticker that's white, and it has a border around it. And the border, it's a black border, and then in the middle it says 3 letters, like SEA for Seattle, or OBX, right? Or CB for Cannon Beach, Outer Banks. And so ORD for Orlando. And so what you see is those are really cool things to sell. Or T-shirts for the area, or hats. And so selling those kind of unique things that are very unique, those things are always amazing to sell. And so you may want to think about that. I've even seen some people sell those post-vacation. For those when they get home and they don't have anything, they're like, oh yeah, I should have got a t-shirt. They offer that in an email that goes out automatically, for instance. So something to just consider. Let's go ahead and let's talk about additional rentals also. One of the things that can be very valuable, and I've seen a lot of this is additional rental items. Now the cool thing about additional rental items is they have a really good ROI after it's paid for. So let's say you buy something, you rent it out, and it pays for itself after a month or a year or whatever the time frame is. What happens is then it's just pure profit every time you rent it out because you have a durable good. Right, and in macroeconomics macroeconomic speak, a durable good is something that will generally last you for multiple uses, generally over a year. So if you buy a barbecue, you can certainly expect a barbecue to last over a year. You rent it out for $50 a time, and you bought it for $250 at a Father's Day sale somewhere. A barbecue and renting those out can be a very, very valuable way to add money. I've seen property managers rent out cars, skis, or they'll work with a ski company and have them come in and fit you for skis. Cribs, boats, cribs are big ones. Pack and plays can be really great. That's a very valuable one also. And I've seen people do car rentals on the website. We can certainly accommodate and help you there. So just pay attention to what people are doing when they get there. I've seen people go so far as when they're fishing, they'll rent out coolers, they'll sell them ice. They can be kind of that full service shop for all of those things to really, like I said, enhance your vacation. I just come back to, once again, I had to buy an umbrella once on vacation because I couldn't find anyone to rent me one, and I was more than happy to buy this umbrella, but I wasn't taking it home with me. I would have paid to rent it what I paid for it. So just making things accessible that they would use, beach chairs, beach towels, that kind of stuff can be very, very helpful. We'll talk about a rule here in a moment, one of our rules about don't charge for things that should be free. I would imagine that right now some of you are saying, yeah, but I include some of that for free. Absolutely, and you should. That's part of the stay and the additional revenues. The fifth one I want to talk about, and I think that many of you maybe do this but don't realize it, and that's called the discounted reservation. And that's just my term for saying use offer pricing incentives for guests to extend their booking, whether they're on site or before they get there. But if you have someone book online and stay 2 days or 3 days or 5 days, why not call them up and just say, hey, if you extend your vacation, maybe we'll discount the last day. You still make some money on it, okay? You still make some money. You don't make as much revenue, but you still make some money. As long as it's not, if it's not a day that would be booked at peak rate, otherwise, then it can be a great thing. Some of us do that. Stay 3, get 1 free. Or I see stay 2, get a third night at a discounted rate for like a vacation on the weekends. We also all see weekly rates. Like everybody has a nightly rate, and then there's a discounted rate if you stay for 7 solid days, right? And then also I see a lot of people, and this happened when we were kind of in a recession in 2009, 2010, we saw people, what they would do is they would trade goods for longer stays. We saw a lot of people say, we'll give you a free gas card if you stay 4 nights. Right. Now what happens, you just have to do the math and say, is the gas card worth more than the 3rd or 4th night that we would ask them to be staying? Right? If our average nightly rate, or excuse me, if our average stay is 3 nights and we're trying to get that to 5, and we say stays 5, get a $50 gas card, just make sure that those 2 nights are going to yield you more than $50 profit, of course. Okay? Now, we've finished up with the 5 points, and we'll review here in a minute, but I want to go through some other rules, and then what we'll do is we'll do some Q&A. Like I said, we're trying to keep these short and give you something that's usable right away, something you can take and start implementing today, that you can think about how you can go ahead and take advantage of these. So the next thing I want to be mentioning is that you want to be careful what you charge for. You don't want a nickel and dime your guest. And so there's things that in vacation rentals that sometimes it's like, I know that every time I go and stay in a hotel, yes, I said it, every time I stay in a hotel, I get soap and shampoo. Those things are things that people generally don't want to pay for if they come to a vacation rental, and those are maybe those expectations they expect to be built into the house, which comes back to Wi-Fi. Every house should have Wi-Fi in it. Usable, good quality internet is very valuable. I understand there's exceptions, right, where there's utility issues and you can't have Wi-Fi in every single house, and it can't always be awesome. I get that. But try your best to make Wi-Fi accessible and free. Linens. It just seems odd. Some places do charge linen fees. Some people are kind of like, huh? The other thing that throws people off is if there's a home outside that's in a resort, but they want to use the resort pool or they want to use the resort tennis courts, and there's resort fees. Now, if you're going to, you've got to do this. You know your area better, and so I'm not telling you one way or another. But one of the things you want to consider, if there's going to resort fees, make sure it's very clear what it's for and why they're paying for it. But if not, maybe there's a way that you can absorb that in the actual rent of the unit. Also, parking fees are really weird to deal with sometimes, especially at a vacation rental home. And then also unexpected fees. When you get there and there's something that you didn't, when the average guest, if you notice that if you're charging a fee and the average guest continually, if you hear a continual complaining about a pretty normal fee that you think is fairly standard, maybe you have to reevaluate what that fee is and have to really consider if that's something you want to charge for or if that's something that you should be valuing adding. And that's just a good thing that you want to offer them. One of the things also to consider with any additional revenue source is make sure to protect your brand. If you outsource services or sell goods, you got to make sure that your partners offer a level of service that you're proud of, right? Your name is their name, okay? How many times, and I can only imagine the people raising their hands, but how many times have you ever sourced out or sent a guest to a certain place for them to only not have the experience that you would have hoped or had provided yourself? Guests trust you as the expert, and a bad experience from a partner can reflect poorly on you. Although Gucci once said, the bitterness of poor quality is remembered long after the sweetness of a low price has faded from their memory. And I think that's true. And so sometimes people will, and I think it comes back to the point, is that people pay for good service, right? My boss, really intelligent man, the CEO of LiveRez, always says, money's what you pay, value's what you get. And it makes the point that it's worth sometimes paying to make sure that you get a good vacation, and you know how that is, and what's important to people. And so don't feel afraid to offer them good value services and goods. If you know that generally a brand of milk or orange juice you're giving out is the best, and give the best and offer that and sell that service as additional. Another thing you want to consider is that free can drive revenue too. And it's kind of a crazy thought, but really sometimes offering a guest something free helps them close the deal, helps you close the deal or the booking, increases their chances of staying with you again, and it's incentive for them to book, creates goodwill, and obviously it helps you to get better reviews. And so that's certainly something to consider also. And so today, just kind of to think about, you want to really think about, you know, obviously there's all the internet and all the social media, but you want to stay competitive. And so you want to take the time to consider what your competition is doing. And that means guests often shop more than one provider. And what are they charging for versus what you're charging for? What services do they offer versus what you're offering? And how do you create yourself a competitive advantage? You really have to think about that. Because once again, value is in the rent, right? And you know, you don't have to go discounting your rental. You can just increase the value of the booking, right? Instead of just, you know, saying, well, we'll just drop the rate to help you to make the booking. Is there something you can offer them to help close the booking instead, right? And usually that's a lot less expensive than dropping your rate, okay? And then for a long time, in the future, you don't have rate parity. So that's really something to consider also. Now, today, as we review, and once again, we're trying to keep this short for you, is number one, standard offerings. Make sure you offer the standard things, those travel insurances, fees, you know, pet fees. Those are okay. If you want referrals of other folks who've done it and it's turned out okay when they were nervous, because I'll bet that you're thinking, man, we'd like to offer a pet fee, but everyone comes with pets, and boy, they won't like that fee. But even if you're not offering a pet fee, introduce it at $15 or $20 or $25, maybe up to $50. I know some people will probably charge a pet fee of $100, but introduce it at low and then work your way up as you feel more comfortable. Value-added services, right? Working with community vendors can be very helpful, and partners to provide really great services at discounted rate and let them know that they're getting them at the discounted rate. Value-added goods, once again, I think that's really, really great that you can offer things like a breakfast package, or you can offer things that help them to enhance their vacation, even if you're renting those out, which gets to point 4 of additional rentals: beach chairs, beach umbrellas, barbecues, coolers, cars, boats, whatever you have that you want to rent. Those can be really valuable, because then once they're done, you still have that item, right? You have a durable good. And then very lastly, discounted extensions. And most of you probably have something like this already in place. But if you continue to push it, there's a lot of value to be had in discounting a vacation, maybe a day, and extending them 1 or 2 days. And so that's, or even, like I said earlier, value adding. Now, I want to make the point, though, that if you do want this webinar, we do have this. It will be published online at liverez.com, and that will be available to you. Also, I want to make the point, for those of you who are LiveRez partners or soon to be or want to be, the LiveRez Partner Conference is coming up. We are running out of seats. We are looking at the number of seats left and trying to figure out how to get everyone in, which is a really good problem to have, but we will find a way. It is October 19th through the 23rd, Sun Valley, Idaho. It's a very historic, wonderful place. We've just had a $51 million renovation done on the resort, and we want to make sure you're all invited. If you haven't registered, please hurry and register. The other thing is, we are getting a really great speaker. The Lone Survivor video that starred Mark Wahlberg was actually a film about a Navy SEAL named Marcus Luttrell, and he will be the one of the keynote speaker at our partner conference. So we're very happy to have him also. Now, that is everything for this webinar. The next webinar is going to be awesome too, and this one's one you're not going to want to miss. I love the next webinar. It's going to be 5 free marketing tools that you can implement today. Some very valuable tools to help you to market and to get your properties out there a little bit better, and we're very, very excited about that. If you do have any questions about today's webinar or about LiveRez, if you're not a LiveRez user but you'd love to know more about liverez.com, our new technology has just been fantastic over the past few months. We've rolled out some really great enhanced things, responsive websites and integration with Airbnb, We have a new way that we look at cleaning called the real-time manager. So fantastic. Feel free to call me or email me. My number is 208-639-6107. And I sure look forward to working with each one of you. Now, before we go, I wanted to just double check and see if there's anybody who has a question about what we've talked about today, additional revenues, any ideas that we can share among the group. But wanted to just kind of see if there's anybody else who wanted anything to say. Let's see. Oh, if somebody wants me to give them a call, I'd love to do that. Lewis, it's good to hear from you. I would happily give you a call. Also, I'm being told by our marketing folks here at LiveRez that if you so desire, please check out our YouTube page where we store all of these webinars. They're on liverez.com, of course, and then on youtube.com/liverez. And so please feel free to do that. It's, it's youtube.com/user/liverez software. All right, so if there's anybody else who has any questions, feel free to ask. We can talk about additional revenue. I know that we went quick today. Like I said, we will be publishing this. I certainly appreciate every one of you joining with us today. Please feel free to give us a call if you have questions about liverez.com and learn about what's making us the leader in the vacation rental software industry. And without any other, I don't see any questions coming through. Oh, Tracy did have a question. Hi, Tracy. How are you? The YouTube video or address is youtube.com/liverez software. That's youtube.com/liverez software. And that's where we store all of our videos, past and present, and what's hopefully coming in the future. So, well, it's fantastic. If anyone else has any questions, please feel free to chime in. You can type them in on the menu bar that go to Webinar Control, and we can answer those for you. All right. Somebody asked, do you have any recommendations for companies that deal mostly with out-of-state guests offering alternatives for extended stay discounts? That's from Amanda. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for your question. Yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. I think there's a lot of great companies. What I'll do is I'll private message you back some that I've seen that are very successful at doing this. But I think that's something you have to think about. Is that the further people come, they'd love to extend their vacation and get the most value for their time that they're there. So absolutely, I will certainly message you. So somebody asked, have you ever added airline purchase as an extension of additional revenue? I've never seen it done in the vacation rental space yet, but that's a fair question. We're just seeing car rentals come on board, and we're seeing additional revenues usually at the stay. You know, for instance, like a barbecue or a pack and play crib. I've not seen airline flights yet. But thank you for the question, Lucas. I appreciate that. All right. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions. If there is, feel free to chime in. If not, we'll call it quits for the day. I certainly appreciate each one of you taking just a brief half an hour with us today and learning more. Check out our website, liverez.com. We certainly want to help each one of you, LiveRez partner or not. We want to share with you what we know to help you to be a better property manager. We love professional property managers. We love you. We want you to be successful. And we certainly look forward to having you guys all part of the LiveRez family. And for those of you who are LiveRez partners, seeing you guys in Sun Valley. And so if there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out. Call me, email me. I'll put my stuff back on the screen here. And I want to thank you all for your time today. From all of us here in Boise, Idaho at LiveRez HQ, I want to thank you again and wish you a good day.